Hi there, we're going to be looking at the suit of discs again today, and the card of choice was the 5. So if we relate that back to the 4 of discs here, we've got the stability of the 4, and that is called power, and that is all about our sense of boundaries, our sense, are we retaining our power or giving it away? And from that stability in the 4, we've got the disruption caused by Mars in the 5th Sephiroth, which is B.O.T.A, and this gives us our familiar difficult 5s. So as we can see, quite a lot of dark stagnant energy there, and we've got the inverted pentagram with some symbols inside. So we'll have a look at the specifics of the symbology of the card in the next section, and then just go on to see how it plays out in a spread. Okay, so just briefly looking at the card here, we've got the inverted pentagram in the center of the card, which is basically just matter weighing down our spirit, the world getting on top of us, and we've got all these circular discs here, from which the actual 5 discs sort of form the hub of the larger discs. And in the background you've got this light, chinks of light trying to sort of shine through all the heaviness and stagnation of these discs, which is basically the accumulation and stagnation of energy, which is worry. So it doesn't really go anywhere, it just sits with us. So its position on the tree of life is, as with all the 5s, we're into the 5th Sephiroth of B.O.T.A, ruled by Mars. So it's Martian energy which is disrupted the 4 of discs, which is the card of power, and now we have this state of flux in the 5, which is typical of all the 5s. What can we go to next, if I get the right? So again, with the 4 worlds, we're down in Osaya at the bottom here. So it's B.O.T.A in Osaya there. So we're quite far down on the tree of life now, quite away from spirit and the energy of the ones at the top there, and we're very much into material concerns and very lost in them. Decans here. This gives us the basis of the astrology of the card. So we've got the first decan of Taurus, which is ruled by Mercury. So it's the first 10 degrees of the decan of Taurus. And so it's ruled by Mercury. So we'll go back to the card itself now. We've got the symbol of Mercury here and Taurus there. As we can probably intuit, those two don't particularly get on, because Taurus is very ploddy, very slow, sort of fixed earth sign, and Mercury is very flighty, very quick. It's the messenger between the gods. So Taurus essentially slows down the communication of Mercury, and hence you've got this stagnation of energy, which is worry. The photo that I saw, which was similar to the 5 and 6, is this like stuck gear system. So as I say, it gives the idea of something that we can't really deal with at the moment. As I say, that energy of worry is just something that stays with us. It's sort of a locked energy system, similar to a locked set of gears, which the card itself is like, if we view these as stuck, sort of a gear system there. So going on to the distant selves, as we can see, there's some what are called Hindu tattva symbols, which is basically the elements inscribed on the discs. Tattva basically is Sanskrit for principle, truth, or reality. The black egg here is basically representing spirit, which means our spirit is being crushed by the weight of the world at the moment. Red triangle here, it's faded, so red represents our fire, our energy, so that is fading. Do we have the energy to deal with this situation? And it represents inertia as well. The blue circle, blue is the communication, if we think of the throat chakra, which is blue. So it's difficulty sort of talking to ourselves about the situation at hand and expressing how we feel. Silver moon here, representing emotions and instincts, emotional worries. Do we feel supported at the moment? Yellow square of earth. Worry about the impact of the situation on ourselves physically and our general living. And the background itself is chaotic, with the natural light of our life not really showing through properly. And we've got the stagnant energy of worry, which is in the way. Quotes from the book of Thoth. Says the idea is of strangling as God's worry sheep, applied to our economic system. So again, that indicates it could be job worries, that sort of thing. Inverted pentagram, instability in the very foundations of matter, which we've covered. The symbol implies long continuous inaction. So for divinatory meanings, Crowley indicates that this has been going on for some time, a situation that we're worried about, that we've not dealt with. So situations that might come up are we getting ourselves into a situation that we may not be able to get out of? Will the momentum of it just overwhelm us and we just get lost in it? Am I over my head at the moment? Could even be strain over spiritual matters as well, even though it is in a suit of discs. It all relates back to Keta at some point. And something might be posing a threat to our overall security. Taurus represents our material possessions and this rules the second house. So it may be an unexpected expense, job worries, or even a disruption to our family life. So we need to deal with this sense of worry and not perpetuate it. So some crystals that have come up there that some people have used, which is, we have seen this before in a previous video, which is green aventurine. It's used as a lucky talisman for some time, popular with those that gamble, but it supposedly brings in good fortune, money, happiness and abundance. And I'm sorry about this, these are not labelled particularly well, the photos, hence I'm flicking through randomly. Turquoise, it's a barrier crystal, protects us from sort of external influences in the world, shocks, gives us some emotional padding for our efforts to deal with the bumps and bruises of life. So I'm not saying that crystals will just dissolve these problems away, but I know that they do help. I've used them myself for nightmares and things like that, and they are very powerful tools. So okay, that's that for this section. We'll wrap things up in the final section and just relate this to a divinatory setting. Okay, just for the final section, we'll look at the Five of Discs as if it was the first card in a Celtic cross spread. So the overall energy of that spread and the underlying feel of it would be something to do with material, our material worries and concerns, things that are happening in our day-to-day life. So very much a down-to-earth energy, and it's, as Crowley indicated, it's a long something that hasn't happened overnight, but it's been with us for a while. So we would obviously need to look at some positives, hopefully, in the spread to try and get this energy working and moved out and dealt with. So if, for instance, the Ace of Swords crossed it, that's a really good card to have in that position, because it shows us that we are capable of finding the insight here as the crown pierces the sun. So we're going to need that sense of open-mindedness to work through the problems and the concerns that we have. But the Ace is a really good card. It almost represents a new beginning, a new way of thinking around the problem. So immediately we've got the beginnings of a spread there where we can move away from the concerns of the 5 and as I say, get that person to move away from the stagnant energy that they feel. With more swords there, swords are a difficult suit as you move through them, and with the 8 of Swords, this would indicate that the person's got concerns and they've got so many different people or situations which are interfering with the situation at hand, and it's like this the things that are interfering with them are not giving them a clear head to move forward. So it would be a case of trying to get rid of all of those distractions, so they can, as I say, just disperse that sense of gloom that seems to have overtaken them. But the 8 of Swords does indicate there could be other people that are the problem, whether it's a work problem or a family problem. Then the 8 of Swords would indicate that sort of thing. Going on to the 9 of Wands, that's just telling us to dig deep in our subconscious and just find the sense of strength to move through this, because it's been with us for a while. We're going to need to be willing to make the effort to really pull out the stops and move things along. That's what the 9 of Wands is telling us. 4 of Wands indicating worries about a possible work project that needs completing, or a personal project, or deadlines. Something needs to be finished off and it hasn't been. Again, money worries in the 9 there. Have we got enough possessions? Do I have enough to get me through the day in terms of material possessions, or through the week to kind of pay the bills? But the 9 again is can be read as a positive card. So there is a sense of optimism in the 9 of discs, which I think we shouldn't discount. What we met previously, 2 of Swords, showing us that whatever decisions we need to make, it's to bring balance in our life and just to step out of the gloom of the 5. Money worries to do with relationships and loved ones. With the 2 of Wands, that's all about moving out into the world and using your sense of self and self-confidence to get what you want. So this is reminding us that we've got the energy to be ourselves and to express ourselves. So this stagnant energy in the 5, it's reminding us that we really need to express that and move away from where we are. And another card here, if that crosses, which is the 8 of Wands. which is swiftness. So this can be again read in different ways. It could be an opportunity that's come quickly for us and we're worried, are we going to take it, are we going to be overwhelmed by the situation? So it may be a job that has come up all of a sudden, and we're worried about what the effect is going to be on our life, what the consequences are, and what they'll be for us materially. Or it could be reminding us not to rush into the decision and to just take a step back and assess all the pros and cons. So it could be a warning that we don't have to rush into a situation, but we need to, as I say, take a step back and just make sure that it is the right decision for us. And I think that's pretty much it. We can go on to things like the wealth, and that's obviously financial worries again, and the with the 8 of discs there, it's just showing us that whatever we have will take time to come to fruition. So in a sense it's telling us just to leave the situation alone and just let it develop and not worry about it, because if we just step aside from it and just let it be what it is, it will just develop in its own proper way and we will reap the benefits. So all of the cards really that aspect uncross the 5 of discs, we have to use their energy to move the stagnancy of the 5 and move it onto something useful in our life, rather than it just being sat there as a sort of an energy sapping thing in our life. So we'll end there. I think that gives you an all-round picture of the 5 of discs, and hopefully see you again in another video. Take care of yourselves and bye for now.